Our focus continues to be on Union Budget 2024, which we will of course be hearing from the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. She will of course begin her address at 11 a.m. today, but before that the FM is expected for a photo op very shortly at the Finance Ministry. Post that, she will also be going to Rashtrapati Bhavan. Union Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will be presenting the interim budget today. Remember, this is the final budget of Prime Minister Modi's government. It is the final budget of the NDA government ahead of the Lok Sabha elections in 2024. This budget is interim in nature, and the comprehensive budget for the financial year 2024-25 will be introduced only after the formation of the new government following the general elections. The interim budget outlines expenditures and revenues until the formation of a new government, as it helps the government to manage its financial obligations. India has certainly made tremendous development in defence, AI, silicon, space, clean energy and a slew of other sectors. But the question is, what is required to keep the momentum going? What will the 2024 Union Budget focus on? And what will it take for India to reach its $7 trillion economy goal? Joining us at this point is Dr. Ashok Mittal, Chancellor, LPU and Rajya Sabha MP. Dr. Mittal, thank you for being with us this morning. What are your expectations from the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman? What are you expecting from the interim budget 2024?
Good morning to all the audience of XTV. Friends, yesterday I was in Parliament and hearing speech of our Honorable President. In that speech, he emphasized upon four things, which are the pillars of our democracy, pillars of our country. The number one point was youth. Second, she was talking about women. Third, Kisan. And fourth, Mazdoor. So my expectation today from the budget is that for youth, is government considering employment? I hope in this budget, government will put full emphasis upon how to give employment to each and every youth. So that's my expectations from that, the budget today. And secondly, we have seen in recent time, spend on education sector, which also take care of the youth requirements, is not going as per the inflation even in the higher education sector. So my expectation will be to take care of youth. The government this time will give a very good impetus to spend on higher education in the country. The second pillar our Honorable Prime Minister talked about was women, which is rightly so. But we have seen Indian woman does not have financial independence. That is her weakest point at the moment, and the male community sometimes dominates upon her and creates issue for her. So is the government going to give some measures with which the women, all women in this country, will become financially independent? I hope the government must be considering this, because the government has already introduced reservation for women, 1/3 reservation for women in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha. So I think this time the government will do something great to take care of the women's financial independence. The third point mentioned was Kisan, farmers. And we all know there is a long-standing demand of farmers across country about minimum support price, that there should be law to regulate minimum support price. So I expect this time that the Honorable Finance Minister will come out with some measures, or maybe come out with a bill for minimum support price. So my expectations are that as far as the farmers are concerned. And of course, we see a lot of farmers do suicides because of the loans, etc. And I hope Finance Minister will give some relief to the farmers so that they do not resort to this, the last measure. Mazdoor is the fourth pillar mentioned by our Honorable President.
Yes.
But we see, are they living in a normal condition? No, sir. We need to do something for our Mazdoor community, the vast Mazdoor community of this country, so that they can live peacefully. They should not have any pressure. They should have reasonably good house, reasonably good location to stay and facilities to stay. The government is doing on that front, but I hope this time the government will must be bringing some better things for a good livelihood of all our Mazdoor Bhai. But a few things which were not mentioned by our honorable president, but I expect is another pillar of democracy, which is generally ignored by everyone. Dukandar. I am a son of Halwai. I am a son of Dukandar. Always they are considered in a derogatory manner. Even the word Dukandari is used to say something negative. So I would expect this time the government will come up with some measures where the word Dukandar, the gali na lage. वो एक respectable word हो, and government will certainly bring some measures and some financial impetus to take care of Dukandar community so that they can also live peacefully. Another thing is salaried class. That's a huge community. 30, 50, 60 crores. That's a huge community. And we never talk about the salaried class the way we should have. I hope from income tax point of view, from other point of view, the government will take care of our vast salaried class, especially private sector salaried class. Government does take care of the government sector salaried class by way of different financial impetus, by way of finance commissions where they are given better salaries and perks. But normal salaried people are always deprived of. So my request will be that. Inflation, though it has been controlled to some extent, but whatever is there, it's again causing a lot of stress on the purse of each and every person of this country. I think government will bring some good reforms to tame inflation further. Health sector. Government has brought certain schemes, but again, we have 140 crore. We don't have much resources even today in the remote areas of our country. The government will do something big to take care of health of each and every person. Nobody should die. Nobody should suffer because of the lack of resources in health sector. So my expectation this time that the government will take care of health sector in a much better way. And school education. Again, I think the state government, central government is doing good as far as school education is concerned. But I hope they will add more booties to help our young, very young family members to have a wonderful quality education. So that will be my expectation from budget this time.
Okay. Also, Dr. Mittal, it is an election year. How much do you believe that will also, influence the budget 2024? There will, of course, be perhaps certain key outlay increases, certain key, expenditure increases made by the FM, keeping in mind good headlines tomorrow morning, perhaps. Every government would want good headlines, good takeaways in an election year, isn't it? There will naturally be politicking as well. Criticisms by the opposition today as well. So how much will the upcoming election influence the decisions taken, the announcements made today, the finance minister's speech expected today?
I will explain it in a different way. Now our electorate are very intelligent. They see what has happened in last 5 years, what has been done by the last 5 years by any particular government, whether it's state or central government. And so they take the work done in the last 5 years into measure while casting their vote. Second, and they're not influenced by the announcements made in the last budget just before elections. Second, ultimately it's a democracy and you have to convince your voters that the government is with them. So even if certain measures are taken by the government to woo the voters, I think there is nothing wrong in that. That's the strength of democracy. At least because of that, electorate will get some advantages. Ultimately, it's a benefit of the society, benefit of the electorate. If because of the election year, because of certain things, the people are getting advantages, so I welcome that.
Yes, you are of course an MP, but primarily you are Chancellor of LPU. In that role, you interact with a lot of the youth. India is predominantly a young country, Dr. Mittal. What are the youth's expectations from this budget, from the government in general? What is the youth's, expectation of the union budget?
Youth generally they have one expectation that the cost of education should go down and the government should support their education. That's the one expectation which I already mentioned. And second, when they pass out from colleges, universities, there should be sufficient job opportunities available. There should be sufficient opportunity by with which they can do their business or can set up their entrepreneurship. They can start their entrepreneurship journey. So these are mainly two expectations by youth. And if our economy grows, job availability will increase. And economy grows, entrepreneurship opportunities will increase. And it's happening reasonably in this country. But of course, expectations are much more. Youth expect much more than they are getting today.
Join Wing Commander Praful Bakshi, defence expert, also into the conversation. Now, Wing Commander Bakshi, as far as the defence sector goes, what are you expecting and overall your anticipations from the Union Budget 2024?
Thank you, Uday. Good morning to all our respected guests. Let me tell you one thing, that as we all know, in this interim budget has to be given because after the election results will be coming and the government on the place would like something more and some changes. That is why this interim budget is proposed, so that the new government can thereafter carry on or make the necessary changes. And let me tell you one thing, there are a lot of aspects as I, as a defense officer, would like to see. India has socio-economic development to see, the development of youth and all, as Dr. Ashok had very nicely put out. Everything is in Kisan and farmers and women. Yes, that aspect is there. But the major aspect, let me tell you, Uday, is when you are not secure, nothing is there. Believe you me, your security as well as a hierarchy of needs is very first. Now let me tell you how insecure we are, whether it is external or internal. The government will have to put their mind on both aspects. And when you see external security, we have often talked about it, what is happening on our infrastructure development on the northeast. First thing our mind comes to that. Then our depleting fighter squadrons. Let me tell you one thing, with 200 squadrons with China and 20 with Pakistan, 220 squadrons will be faced by India with mere 32 or 30 squadrons. That aspect is very, very unnerving and very serious. So that is where maximum portion of the budget actually goes to defense. Defense is the biggest spender, and it has to be because we have not indigenized. So indigenization aspect will be very much in the mind of the government, and depleting fighter strength, our other equipment, necessary equipment, infrastructure development on the 4,000 kilometers from Ladakh to East Arunachal, all that will be seen there. And then the South China Sea is hotting up. That is where the Navy is being strengthened. The aircraft carriers are coming up. As we have discussed, the 40,000 ton aircraft carrier is now come, and 60,000 is on the board. We have 60,000 ton aircraft carrier. New aircraft for the aircraft carriers, MiG-29 or the Rafale naval version, or the LCA development for the Navy, the twin engine to deck lander. So these aspects would be major issues. Yes, OROP, the one rank, one pension aspects, they are there. They come on the socio-economic development. I categorize it in that, because those things will have to be seen. But overall, lot is expected from the finance minister, because defense is the most serious thing after G20, the success, after the success in the space, Chandrayaan. The world eyes are on India. Everybody is looking at India. And that is where the Indian leadership is going to be tested, in South China Sea, where late Shinzo Abe had said India has to take the leadership. That is coming up. Our entry into Quad. If we enter into Quad in the military relationship, then more serious things start coming up. The protection of our fleet, protection of our trade, And what is happening now, you can see in Red Sea, our ships are being attacked, the merchant ships, Indians, especially on which the Indians are there. That aspect has to be seen because there is a major changes in the international political changes in the Middle East and in the South China Sea. All these things will take a lot of attention of the finance ministry. It will be not related to only socio-economic development, but major chunk will go out there. So we have to be very careful. We have to study it further. Thank you, Uday.
Yes, let me quickly join Ajay Dua as well, former Commerce Secretary, Government of India. Ajay Dua, it is an interim budget, but what do you believe could be the main takeaways of what Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will outline today?
Thank you, Uday, for asking me to join. I'm happy that the government is coming up with a budget at a time when there is international recognition for India's economic growth. We are certainly doing very well in both in absolute as well as in relative terms compared to the rest of the world. So the budget would reflect the optimism which such developments or such achievements automatically bring about. However, having said that, I would think that the finance minister, prudent as she is, she would not give away everything which she would like to do and about which my preceding speakers have so eloquently mentioned in an interim budget. Interim budget has, as we all know, has an aspect of vote in account, saying letting the government do what it wants to do for the next 3 months or so, and expectedly the full 9-month budget will come in July. But at the same time, the interim budget would set out the directions in which the government, once it returns, and as is widely expected it would, that it would take off from there without losing the 3 months of the next year. If there was an uncertainty, political uncertainty, etc., then I would have said they will probably do very little in this budget. But given the political scenario, I do expect them to set in motion what would be seen in the rest of the year and the years ahead. And that is where Dr. Mittal's very wide encompassing expectations from the budget and then the defense-related expectations which Wing Commander Bakshi mentioned would materialize.
Yes. Let me, also get in Amit Mishra's perspective now, real estate sector expert who's also with us. Amit, as far as the real estate sector is concerned, what are your expectations from what, the companies are concerned, the corporates are concerned, and also as far as real estate growth in the country is concerned, what would they expect today, Amit, from the budget? Also as far as affordable housing goes as well, because that has also been a big thrust area of the government. Do you believe outlays for that will perhaps be increased? Further goals will be laid out? What are you expecting today, Amit?
Thanks, Uday, and welcome to our guests and all the audience. So, coming to the expectation from the budget for the real estate sector, so I'll probably speak for both the perspectives as the real estate sector as well as being a startup for ease of doing business for the startups. What are the expectations from our side? So, real estate has been one of the backbone of the country, and it has been growing at a very fast pace for last few years. So the expectation would be that as of now, the developers who are doing the real estate development work, they do not get the benefit of GST input credit. So one of the main expectation would be to overhaul the overall GST regime for the real estate sector, so that the developers also get benefit of GST input credit. This will not only decrease the overall property prices in India, but also enable a lot of good practices in the downline supply chain in the real estate sector. So that would be one of the expectation. And also we've seen that when it comes to lending by the financial institutions for these developers as well as the contractors who are working in the real estate sector, then there is a huge need for the government to incentivize these financial institutions so that they lend to the real estate sector players in a much deeper way. Coming to the ease of doing business for the startups, so we all know that for last 1 year, the startups have been struggling in raising investment while the public markets have been booming. And the main reason for the same is that the gain tax regime is very, very favorable for the listed companies as compared to unlisted startups. So there is a huge need for the finance minister to bring a overhaul of the gain tax regime and bringing the same to the same level for the startups as for the listed companies. And this will go a very, very long way in enhancing the investment in the startup ecosystem. At the initial stages, any startup needs to get the funds, and it is paramount for the startup ecosystem to boom. So that is one of the main requirement that I'll say we have from the budget. And overall regulatory framework also needs to be overhauled in a big way, because if you see the ranking of India in ease of doing business, then it does not even feature into top 50 countries, while it's the fifth largest economy. So all the developed countries or the countries like Israel, well, where the startup ecosystem has boomed and it has resulted in a lot of growth for those countries, we see that the regulatory framework and the compliance requirements and everything is like very, very favorable for the SMEs and for startups in those countries. So, although the government has worked very, very hard in increasing India's ranking in ease of doing business, but still there is a long way to be done in that particular sector. Then, obviously, as other guests have also been talking about, then upskilling and developing the skills of the youth is paramount for Indian ecosystem to boom, because the world is at the cusp of AI revolution, and we'll see exponential growth and AI penetration in all the areas. It may be manufacturing, it may be construction, agriculture, services sector. Everywhere we'll see that. There is a huge need to upskill India's workforce. I was reading a report, and there was a requirement of upskilling around 1.6 crore workers in India for the AI and automation. So we need to create a workforce which will probably change India's landscape and positioning in the world in the coming years. And we hope that the initiatives taken by the finance minister in the last few budgets, like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, there will be more outlays for those, and we'll see India's youth upskilling more in the coming years.
We join Pankaj Mittal as well, tax expert, once again into the conversation. Pankaj, again on, of course, the various tax tinkerings. Do you expect anything on that front today, or do you believe that that is something that perhaps will be left for the new government to take a call on after the general elections? What are you expecting today overall as well, Pankaj?
Good morning, everyone, and good morning to the audience. As a tax expert, I will say that government should propose the amendments in whatever that needed in the interim budget itself, because this government is since 10 years, and they know the trajectory what they need to do. As well as as a tax expert, I want to say that as a tax there are two schemes. One is old regime and one is new regime. And taxpayer is very much confused about the scheme which they should opt. Our government always emphasize on the fact that one should have a very easy calculations of tax, and they should not spend their time and money to file their ITR, because filing a ITR should be more easy.
All right, let's quickly address these visuals coming in. You can see there, of course, activity increasing at the residence of the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, as well as the MOS Finance as well. Those are, of course, the visuals. Let's try and dip into those visuals if we can.
11 बजे सबको पता चल जाएगा। सर हम लोगों को क्या मिलेगा सर? धन्यवाद धन्यवाद। नेक्स्ट पेज को क्या मिलने वाला है? थोड़ा पीछे जाओ, पैर आ जाएगा, पैर आ जाएगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। 11 बजे के बाद बोलूंगा, 11 बजे के बाद।
सर, आपका शेखर में किस पर फोकस होगा बताइए।
11 बजे के बाद बताऊंगा।
ठीक है, मुंह में लग रहा है, छोड़ दो, छोड़ दो।
धन्यवाद, धन्यवाद।
डन डन, ठीक है, डन डन डन।
Okay, I think that's the MOS Finance, Pankaj Chaudhary, who is leaving from his residence. MOS Finance, Pankaj Chaudhary leaving from his residence. They will, of course, be going to the Finance Ministry. They are also expected to go to Rashtrapati Bhavan in a short while from now as well. The FM is still at her residence, so FM Nirmala Sitharaman also perhaps we're expecting her to leave in a few minutes from now as well. Yes, back to you, Pankaj. Please complete your point.
Yeah. So in today's scenario, everyone to file his ITR or her ITR had always take the assistance of annual information systems which are reflected in the income tax sites and Form 26 years. Means the government is emphasizing on the filing the returns very easily so that they can know what are their incomes. They are compiled on a one place. But when there are two regimes, everyone has to calculate twice. One the tax from the old regime and from the new regime, and they have to compare. As a layman, it is very difficult for a assessee to calculate the tax. So he has to go to the experts. So I expect from new budget that this complexity can be little resolved. And from the point of view of the budget, I would like to that they have to emphasize on infrastructure, because infrastructure if there is a more budget for infrastructure, then the problem of employment is also solved and it increase the economy. As my friend Amit Mishra explained, that infrastructure and real estate are the key drivers of the economy. So I also expect that they must consider that. And we are looking the data that there is a huge increase in the taxpayers. Almost approximately 70.24 CR people are allotted a PAN number from the government, and they are out of that more than 70% are linked with other schemes also. As well as government is also.
Okay, so the arrivals have started. That is Bhagwat Karad there, MOS Finance arriving at the Finance Ministry. MOS Finance, Bhagwat Karad has arrived at the Finance Ministry. We're also expecting perhaps Pankaj Chaudhary to reach shortly. He's also left from his residence. And then, of course, the Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, also will be reaching the Finance Ministry. So, activity, of course, increasing at the Finance Ministry, as you can see on your screens. Yes, we are, of course, also then expecting the FM to move to Rashtrapati Bhavan, after which she will go to Parliament House for the budget presentation. It's a paperless budget once again this year. Like, of course, the last couple of budgets, it will be presented in a paperless form today. Yes, Pankaj Mittal, please complete your point, and then I want to go back to our other guests as well. As we see more visuals, I think this is MOS Finance, Pankaj now arriving there. Yes, Mr. Mittal.
Sir, my submission expectation from the government and that there should be some easy steps to file the.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.